Welcome to the Farm to School podcast, where you will hear stories of how youth thrive and farmers prosper when we learn how to grow, cook, and eat delicious, nutritious local foods in schools across the country
and the world. Hi, everybody. We're back again. We're your hosts. I'm Rick.
And I'm Michelle Markison, and we have a very delicious guest with us here today. Welcome, Lucy.
Delicious guest. Lucy DeLeon. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, and Lucy is a proprietor of Salsas Locas in Portland, Oregon.
Woohoo.
And why do we have a producer of tamales and enchiladas on this show? She has a really interesting program, and we're going to get into that. So, Lucy, tell us about yourself. You sell you sell tamales and enchiladas, as we said, to the schools all across Oregon, really. And you've been a presence in Oregon for quite some time. Can you tell us about that journey of how that started?
Yes. So I attended a food show in the Pearl District, and it was there. I mean, I always had a dream of, providing, food to school lunches. So I went to this food show, and Portland Public was there, and there was other school districts there, but they were the first contract that I got. And and at the time, I'll start with, I wasn't ready, but I asked a lot of questions. I mean, how are we going to get into school lunches?
Yeah, why schools? Why did you have a restaurant at the time? So
yes, at the time my parents had. I'll go back a little more.
Sure.
So we were. I was born in Texas. My parents were migrant workers, and I was a migrant worker too. We traveled all over the U.S. and to pick crops, and Oregon was our last stop. My mother at that time, would always get up early in the morning to make tamales. We would help her to sell to other people, on the fields too. So to bring extra money to our home, because it was 6 of us, 6 children plus my parents, 8. So that was always, so Oregon was our last stop. We would make tamales at home, just selling it to friends and family. Mm-hmm. And then we ended up opening up our own shop in Gresham in 1999. And we would sell, tamales but then I wanted to take it to the next level. So we started selling wholesale. And then I'm like, well, I really want to get into schools, because that's always was in the heart for me. Like,
Sure.
trying to see, that, on school lunches, something that, I just remember school lunches is, very traditional. But when you kids see, that connection of that food that they're used to, it's a big impact.
Yeah. And a tamale too. I mean, holy smokes. A tamale too, for people that don't realize, they're so labor intensive. You don't just whip up something really quickly. And I think it'd be impossible for a school lunch staff to make them themselves. It takes days and days.
I don't know.
Just speaking from experience, can you tell us about that?
Yes. So currently we have 35 employees, and I mean it's a big process. First from picking out the corn husks, soaking them, and preparing the fillings for the inside, and then making the masa, make sure it's correct, to, spreading them on the corn husk, to cooking them for another 2 hours, to cooling them, it's a lot, and some school districts order, Portland Public can order 25,000 at a time.
Wow.
Hillsborough can order 40,000. And we're just this week we delivered to Umatilla 2 days ago, and we also delivered to La Grande. And and I got a couple new schools from the Oregon Food Show that we just did in Salem. So
Yes, our School Nutrition
saw you there.
Association
Yes.
annual
Yes.
trade show.
that's awesome.
We were going to interview Lucy there. We interviewed a few of her compatriots there at the show, but we just wanted her to come into the studio and talk into this a little bit, give her a little bit more time for this. Now, and you do more than one flavor, like they pulled pork, there's chicken ones. I remember getting, I'm sure they don't have these in the schools, but kind of the dessert ones that were like cinnamon and raisin and things like that. Have you done those before?
We have not, but we do. We try to, whatever the school, when they tell me, well, I want this tamale to meet this certain, credits,
Yes.
we have to change it up. And I do what they tell me. Last year, I worked with Gresham Barlow.
Yeah.
I showed him a tamale that had green chili with cheese and pinto beans. And it was an enchilada. I'm sorry, it was a tamale. And they said, well, can you make it an enchilada? And I'm like, yeah, I haven't done it, but yeah. And they turned out delicious, So the same feeling, but it was in a enchilada. Now, yes, we cater. I mean, we there's schools like Portland Public, they have a lot of, kids that don't eat meat. So we do, vegetarian tamales and we do, chicken tamales too. Some chickens tamales with cheese, some without cheese. And of course, I do, what the school's asking. So
There's a guy around here, a farmer in Canby, that is famous for making asparagus tamales. I had him at a farmer's market in Salem. And
Interesting.
They blew me away. It was so good. But one thing about that, like you mentioned, the crediting, that is such, that is not for the faint of heart for people like out in the country, like they want to sell to schools. And there's someone you can work with in your state to do that. But it's like Lucy was saying, you have to have so many ounces of meat or meat alternate, so much for grain for that. And it can be difficult to do that. So hats off to you for navigating that.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to just bring it to life a little more, actually. How, because you're selling wholesale, you were already making tamales from a family recipe, it
Correct.
sounds like. How did you have to alter a recipe, for example, to meet the requirements of the school?
yes, so the masa that we were using for our regular wholesale was not
Credible.
for Oregon Department of Ed. So I had to start asking questions. Well, which one is it? I had to send my father for that Portland Public all the way down to Rancho Cucamonga in California to bring up 2 pallets of the masa that was credited for, and but it was just asking questions like, is this, is this credited? And there's so much, sometimes people, at the beginning it seems super overwhelming,
Yes.
to get this going, but it's just connecting, with the right people. Like I know Amy Gilroy from ODA.
Yeah, Department of Agriculture.
Yes,
Yep, in Oregon.
She helped me a lot.
That's awesome.
And then from her, I was talking to Oregon Department of Education too. But
The specialist there, yeah. So do you have any advice for other people in other states or even Oregon that would like to navigate that minefield, so to speak?
yes, if it's something you want to do, you can do it. I mean, you can do it. It's just, asking questions. And I'm a person of like, I always ask questions. And that's something that I was taught since young. My father would always say, hey, Lucy, the sun shines for everyone.
Yeah.
It's who wants to go,
I love
go for
that.
it. So
The sun shines for everyone.
yes. And, just coming from, that, of wanting something, and from working in the fields. And my father would say, do you guys want to keep working here? Picking, and we're like, no, we'll get an education. That was his advice. And we did, and why? Because we wanted to make better. And, we live in a country of opportunities, coming from, migrant, parents and it's just, asking questions and wanting, to find out, how can I get there? And even asking me, I'm always, open. Like, if you send me an email, I'll help you, with what I know. But yes, for people that want to get started, have that idea down and push forward, because you can. I mean, for me, it was a dream. It was a dream come true. To see it. A tamale on a lot of people say, wow, we never had tamales growing up.
I'm glad you said that, because I've talked to other producers locally, and some of them have even told me, I could even get more money selling these on a different market, but selling to schools, it's like that, like you said, that dream, it's the right thing to do. We want to make the school lunch better. This is a scratch-made thing without preservatives, and it's so heartwarming to see that.
And so when you're meeting with school nutrition services, what's it like developing relationships with them? Like, how do you approach that sales channel?
Yes, it's so important, because after you make that connection, they're kind of your word of mouth to other nutritionists, because they all know each other.
They do.
So it's super important. Ricky Lynn from Umatilla has been amazing, because
she was our very first guest on this podcast episode. Hey, Ricky Lynn.
Hey, Ricky Lynn. Yes. So why? Because she helps me, with the other districts around. So to make that connection, so she says, hey, Lucy, you can come and drop off here. You can drop off someone else's stuff here, and then they can, she has storage space. So that's something, to piggyback, and to have that. It's just been amazing.
And how did you figure that out? Because Ricky Lynn's not down the road. She's 3 hours away. Umatilla is the very northeastern corner of our state.
Yes. There's a big population of Hispanics there. So, I know she does, breakfast stuff. She does, lunch. She buys from them from lunch too. Like, we have a breakfast tamale and a lunch tamale. And but I also met her at the food show, so I mean, those are super important for people that want to make that connection, not even maybe like already having the formulation down, but just talking to, to other nutritionists, talking to people who come by. So I try to take advantage of any food show, any that is here, to go and show my product.
And we're really fortunate in our state, because our School Nutrition Association, and if you just listened, we just had 3 episodes. At the time of this recording, they would have already dropped. But our School Nutrition Association has an annual conference, and they have this food show, which the back 40 acres of the food show is a lot of processed food and normal things that are on the lunch tray. But then right when you come in, we have our local portion, which is all local producers, local fruits and veggies, local processed foods, and we always hear that from the directors that's their favorite part of the whole weekend is talking to you folks. And we operate a grant where we're able to reimburse people for local things, and so they're really looking for that. And so
that's awesome.
It's really fun to do that every year.
Yes, I think that's what's really helped us, Rick, with expanding and getting to more schools too.
Do you sell outside of Oregon?
To schools, no, but that's my next plan.
I was just going to say, what's on the horizon, Lucy?
I really want to because we're like 15 minutes away from Vancouver.
Break into that other state across the river.
Yes. But it's been hard, because I think they're really looking for from their state.
Interesting.
So,
now that's funny you bring that up. Then lately there's been a push that's like, great we have this local wonderful food that's on the tray is local ingredients in your tamales. I know you said you had to go to Rancho Cucamonga to get that's a very specific thing because that was the only credible masa that you could get. But like, I'm sure are you open to trying to find as much local in your ingredients as possible?
We are. We try to do get local vegetables. Try to do as much as I can, but there's stuff that has to be outsourced, especially like the masa.
Okay.
Yes.
And just to clarify, when you both saying it's credible, it's not a brand type. It's there's specifications of the product. Can you tell me more about that?
Yes, it's the masa, like the
cornmeal.
The cornmeal, yes.
See,
the breakthrough, like of how much that, meets the credits for
whole grain.
It's hard because cornmeal, it's hard to credit as a whole grain. So that's like they've had things for corn muffins and things like that. The USDA takes a while to catch up for crediting those things, and cornmeal is one of those things it's been hard in coming on. I'm glad they have something that was credible. So yeah.
So what are some stories you hear from kids or parents who have tried your tamales and enchiladas?
Yes. So I tell schools when they're serving our tamales or enchiladas, I'm like, please let me be a part of it. So I love to join them for when they're serving them. And the kids come up to me, they let me speak at the cafeteria, and a lot of them come up and they say, they taste the same as my grandma's tamales.
That's the best compliment ever.
They taste like my tias or my mom's and they try to hug me, and I'm like, oh, it's the policy. They're like, yeah, if they come, but they love it. They love it, and I think that's the biggest reward. Like for me is watching the kids, and then there's other kids that are trying it for the first time, and they're like, oh, we're liking, they like it. So, and also, I know OSU has done, a couple. They do a work lesson, to help, show our story, how tamal, and it's great
Food
because
hero.
Yeah, so they, show, tell my story of, and also of like where tamales come from, that there's so many different kinds.
I'll link to that if I can find that in our show notes, and as well as link to your
I can send it to you
operation
too.
and stuff.
And so super, super amazing.
Do you get the question, or a lot of kids are like, no, I don't want to eat this now because I only have this connection with tamales for holidays? Because I've heard that a lot.
They've never told me of holidays, but they do say, no, I like the ones with black beans, so I can't. And I'm like, okay.
Nice.
So and most of my tamales are with pinto beans. So but that's a thought,
Green chili, red chili.
Yes.
There's so many different ways you could. Now I'm getting hungry for.
Yeah.
We should have her bring some.
I knew this would be a delicious episode. I told you. We've covered so much already, and thank you for sharing so much of your story. But I'm curious, what else would you like our listeners to know?
So I want them to know that a tamale, we're also sharing our culture, our roots, my story, and every tamal carries a bit of love and our tradition and also our resilience. And that is very important to me because, I was there, in that, like those kids, also, going, to school for that meal. And it's just so important for kids to have, a good meal, a nutritious meal, because it makes them, think better and learn better. And so that's very important for me.
And resilience. Tell me more about that.
So, growing up, I didn't have much. We would get to some places, and we didn't even have a place to sleep. We would sleep in a car. And my kids now ask me, Mom, were you guys homeless? And I'm like, I guess we were homeless, but I didn't see it like that because I saw it as I had my mom and dad. We were in a vehicle, there was still a roof over us, and then they would find us a place, because we were migrant workers, where to sleep. But I never felt like we were homeless. I always felt like we're there, and I'm the youngest of 6. So we had to learn to, use whatever we had and get, and another big thing for me is food waste. I don't like to throw away food. I'm a big, I'm always donating. Like, even in our kitchen, if there's chilies that did not sell, I can grind them into salsa. If there's cactus that didn't sell at the end of the day, boom, we can put them into into one of the dishes, for to sell. So that, and then also when I'm working with a farmer, so if there's any that we do have to throw away, to give it to a farmer to feed, to animals. So that, just growing up with, little has, really, I have this mindset, like we can't throw away food, because there's people that are hungry. And again, like I said, I'm a big donor. Like when it comes to, if we need to do anything with our freezer, when we were in Gresham, I would call Reynolds, the food pantry. And right now we're, there's a organization, Team Challenge, that they come and pick it up.
Oh yeah.
And I always go to Portland Rescue Mission, and even there's another pantry out by Airport Way that we do too. But yeah, just very, I about that. I don't like to throw away food.
And so in your journey, like being with you in person, you exude enthusiasm and energy and entrepreneurship. Like you even just came here from a class, even though you're a very successful businesswoman. I'm curious, like, where does that drive from you come from?
So I love to learn. I love to learn. I kind of made myself, this class that I'm taking, it's setting your goals for the next 3 years. So, how am I going to get there? I have to, keep myself accountable, and be meeting those goals weekly, not just say, oh, there's a goal. No, how am I going to get there and meeting them? Like one of the things that they told us, make an appointment. Like you make an appointment, to have breakfast and have coffee. Make an appointment with your goal and be writing down what are the steps I'm taking to get there. So super important. I said, a lot of times our phones, I tell my kids, watching videos, you don't learn nothing. I just finished a book, Psychology About Money. And I want my kids to read it, but I'm like, I need to read it first. I got done. And the book I'm reading on right now, it's My Next 5 Moves, in business. So, I love to learn. I love to, and I always get something new from a book, but it's not just getting something new, but putting it into practice. That's important. So, my kids are like, geez, Mom, and I'm, tonight I have another meeting, super important meeting. I have a new restaurant and I just got a keys to another new restaurant last week. So, I love, having a lot of stuff and a little bit of chaos, but I've learned, that I just have to take one step at a time. And another thing that I really told myself, before I would miss a lot of my kids' stuff. And I said, no more, Lucy, no more of missing that. 'Cause I need to, family comes first. And it's super important. And my kids see that, like even making it to their game. And so, yeah.
That's what I was wondering, how you balance being a mom and married together almost 30 years, 32? 32 years. How you balance all those different parts of your life.
Well, I have an amazing partner. My husband is so supportive and so understanding, and when I say, I tell my kids, it's focus time, for mom, and they understand. And I tell them, there's time to play, but there's time to work, and they know when I'm working, I'm like working.
Yeah.
So, but there's times when they've seen me and they're like, Mom, how can I help? And I love that. So we had, I think last year, Portland Public got like 3 pallets of enchilada sauce. And we were doing the chilies from scratch, opening up, taking the seeds out. And my federal inspector said, Lucy, why don't you just buy a can? It's so much easier. And I'm like, no, we do not use canned stuff. Wow. Yes, I could use, the 6x10, that come in a case, 10 pound. I'm like, no, we do it fresh and we blend, we boil, we blend, So my kids were there on the weekend helping. And I said, hey, I'm going to, pay you, not on payroll, but I'll give you. And they saw, like, we got to get this done. We got to get this done. So
what are your next 5 business moves? Oh, put you on the spot. I don't. And maybe it's proprietary. You don't want to share.
Well, I don't know. I'll leave a link to that book too.
Yeah. I, like I said, last week I don't know if you want to share this, but I bought a whole block in downtown.
Yeah, no, we want to share that.
Okay. So I bought a whole block, and there's already 4.
A block of what? Just to be clear.
A whole building.
City block.
A city block in downtown.
In downtown Portland, Oregon.
Downtown Portland.
Amazing.
Yes. And when a lot of people say, really, Lucy, downtown? And it's like, guys, this has to change. Yes. Like, if we don't, I love Portland. I love the city. Every time I'm heading towards it, I'm like, it's such a beautiful city. And if we don't invest, if we don't, go forward and take, and for me, it's a leap of faith. I have to, we don't know, my dad would always say, Lucy, you don't know, you have to take risk. If you don't take risk, you don't know what the outcome's going to be. So yeah, I got the keys to that. Now I'm a landlord of 4 other restaurants, but I'm going to be putting the 5th restaurant there, which is going to be me.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so that, and then I want to start bottling some drinks. And that's one of my moves. And then I want to start selling. I have a meeting with an airline in 2 weeks to see if I can get my tamales and burritos on the airlines.
Amazing.
And and then, but another big kind of like the school is military. I want to get into military. So I'm doing all the research I can right now. 'Cause it's like, why can't my product be there? It's like, why not?
Why not?
Yeah, so I did something crazy, but it's the first food show that I pay, and it was crazy, Rick, because I'm like, but it's going to be in Long Beach in October, and it was, what's that?
Expo West.
That's where my parents are from.
Really?
Long Beach,
I don't
California.
even know. I don't even know where that is, but I'm like, gosh, I got to get my tamales down there, my burritos, and this last food show, I was seeing how the big people that are inside that in the convention center in Salem. I'm like, how do they bring their product? And I was just seeing that it's big coolers.
Yeah.
And they have the little oven there, and I'm like,
Sure.
I can just take my little oven and heat up there. So yeah, it's with a lot of airlines. And look, yeah. So I'm really praying that, it opens another new sales channel. So
I'll pray for you too.
thank you. Yes, I need it. I need prayer and wisdom and knowledge. That's what I ask God every day. Give me favor. So in my faith, it's, I always say it's all from him because I couldn't do it without him. Like awesome. So, and right now everyone's like, it's so shaky with what's going on, but I'm like, God's got me. He's got me. So he's never let me down. So, and I'm not going to say I'm not going to stumble. Yeah. But I will learn from that. So yeah. And that's I think I give that to my parents. My dad is just he's every day he calls me, Lucy, stop what you're doing. Open your Bible. And I'm like, Dad, I'm in the middle of something, Dad. but it's such an amazing blessing to have, that blessing and him, just praying and, for us. So yes, I tell my kids, we're very blessed because, we came from, little, but God has really, look at this, everything we have. And now I get to travel the world and see other stuff. And I always bring crazy ideas. And my employees are like, oh, Lucy. But every time I travel, Rick, every single one of my employees has a little gift that I bring because I couldn't do it without them. And I've learned before, like, I always wanted to micromanage everything. Like, no one can do it like I can. But no, like, I'm like, they can do it. And I have my lead person. She's an engineer from Mexico, doesn't speak English, but she's got that phone, and we have a federal inspector there every day. Translate, the phone. It's like, and I tell her, don't let anything. And that's like, and she wants, it's crazy. Like, do not let, a language stop you. Like,
nice.
Yeah. So I finally learned to let go. They can do the same thing I can do.
And bring something new to it.
Yes. And now it's like I get to concentrate on, my other goals is, opening new sales channels, and that's super important. I hope I didn't bore you guys.
Oh my gosh, I'm so jazzed. I want to go start something.
New favorite episode.
You can, yes.
Thank you for sharing more of that, Lucy.
Thank you for inviting me.
And we'd like to thank everyone so very much for listening today.
Farm to School was written, directed, and produced by Rick Sherman and Michelle Markiston, with production support from Leanne Locker of Oregon State University. This podcast was made possible by a grant from the United States Department of Agriculture.
The content and ideas of the Farm to School podcast do not necessarily reflect the opinions of Oregon State University, Oregon Department of Education, and the United States Department of Agriculture. The USDA, Oregon Department of Education, and Oregon State University are equal opportunity providers and employers.
Do you want to learn more about Farm to School? Check out other episodes, show notes, contact information, and much more by searching Farm to School Podcast OSU.
Yeah, and we will have links to the show notes and the books that Lucy recommends. Maybe we have a Farm to School book club. We can all look at what our next 5 moves are. Thank you so much, Lucy. Really appreciate you.
Thank you.